When we look around, I believe that we've forgotten Ma'at. Governments have forgotten Ma'at. People have forgotten Ma'at. We've become in the United States, I believe, we're very, it's this individualistic kind of society here. The colonizers came to America with this like, it's ours, we can do, and then they colonized the whole country, and me, mine, what's for me, right? And now it's time to turn that off, and it's the we. It's no longer the me, it's the we. And that's what the children are saying. Every choice we make, every action we take has to be about the we. And not just the we of like my family or my city, my humanity, but the we of life, right? What am I doing to preserve the web of life?
Welcome, soul travelers. Today, we are crossing the veil into the realms of oracular vision with my guest, Zahra Indigo Ronlov. Zahra holds a master's degree in ecopsychology for Naropa University and is a minister of walking prayer with the Center for Sacred Studies and a Sufi murid for the Inayatiya Sufi order. As a priestess of the ancient Egyptian goddess Ma'at, she serves truth, natural order, cosmic law, justice, harmony, and balance in every way she is able to perceive it. She is also the executive director for the Fountain for the Natural Order of Our Existence, in service to the deep wisdom of the indigenous peoples of this planet. Sacred Witness LLC is Zahra's own company she has been holding since 2007. She offers one-on-one guidance, coaching, consultations, self-growth classes, and spiritual pilgrimages in Egypt, having led hundreds of seekers through the Egyptian mysteries. She is grateful to guide those who find their way to her through transformation and healing by creating a safe space for physical, spiritual, and emotional wellness to root and blossom. Her first book, published, The Gifts of Ma'at, follows with the same intention. As a sacred witness to the unfolding complexity, beauty, and mystery of this existence, it is Zahra's intention to live in life in service to the health of our planet and all who reside here. In this, she has found something quite profound and beautiful. Oh my God, that reads so beautiful. Welcome, Zahra. I am extremely grateful to have you here, as from the very first hour of birth of this podcast, I knew that I wanted to have you here to speak about the magic and the mystery of Siwa Oasis, the oracular gem of Egypt's temple landscape. So welcome to the podcast.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here today.
Absolutely. So I don't even know where to dive in. It's such such a gem, truly. So maybe I want to start by, what do you feel, what role does Siwa play in the energetic temple grid of Egypt?
What role does Siwa play in the energetic temple grid of Egypt? Well, the first thing that I would say is that Siwa is not on the same track, right? So we have the Nile that's running from deep, deep in Africa, making its way north through many, many countries, and eventually it comes into Egypt and heads up north to the Mediterranean, right? And along that river track, much of the civilization grew. Now, if you go west, there is a string, you can see them dotted on the map, of oases that move along kind of parallel track to the river up to the north. And Siwa Oasis is the very furthest north oasis, right? And it's the very furthest west. So it's getting near to the Libyan border. It's near to the Mediterranean Ocean-ish, near-ish, a couple of hours. And it's surrounded by a sea of sand, the Great Sahara, right? And when you ask about a grid, right, this temple is way over here, whereas all the others are along this line, right? So it has something different in that way just by the mere location of it. The other piece of it that is distinct is that it is one of the only oracular temples, right? Its sister is Delphi in Greece. They have a similar kind of impulse. And in fact, one of the stories of the history that we carry about Siwa was about Alexander the Great, right? Who came into Egypt. Egypt was a colonized people many times over the centuries, right? Or eons or whatever. Part because people saw what the Egyptians had, the riches of the land and the soil and the food and the sun and just the wealth of spirit, and they wanted it, right? So they came. But Siwa has the oracle temple of Amun, Amun being the dark side of the sun, the part of this, not even the dark side, the part of the sun that's unseen. Re is the bright, brilliant sun we see at the highest point in the day, right? Shining bright. Whereas Amun is that part where it dips under and we know the light is there, but it's unseen, right? So that's Amun. And that's what this temple is dedicated to, Amun. And so the oracular nature of it, I believe, makes it slightly different than all the other temples. The other thing that makes it different is that it's so far out of the way that it isn't the like standard destination for most tourists, whether they're regular tourists or spiritual tourists who are going to Egypt. So it has a different impulse because of its location, because of its history, because of its intention. Oh, the Alexander piece, he went to that temple to get the clarity from the gods that he was, in fact, divinely, birthed and worthy of being Pharaoh of Egypt. And there was an army that was after him, right? And they were coming through the desert to get him, and they disappeared, never to be found. Thousands.
Miraculously.
Thousands. Many, many, many warriors. And the Siwa Oasis protected Alexander to bring forward whatever he needed to do for history. I always speak his name today, right? And that gave him divine proof that he was of divine origin, which in fact, truly we all are. So
we all are so much. Yeah. It's beautiful. Thank you. And I want to touch on what you said about this sister aspect in Delphi. We actually do have an episode about Delphi on the podcast as well. So can you speak a little bit more into this? How does it play out, that twin aspect in a way?
Well, so I want to be really just transparent about my relationship with Egypt, or with Siwa specifically within Egypt. I have a very deep and long relationship with Egypt, perhaps eons, but in this lifetime since 2012, I've been there 19 times, right? So there's many, many times I've gone and I've been in the temples along that track, many. Siwa Oasis, however, it was like this, right? I had this pull. I had to go there. I had, is it about Siwa? I need to go to Siwa. Why Siwa? Why does Siwa call me so much? Of all the places in the world, why Siwa? So there's this, like, for those who know and have tapped into that pull of Siwa, when it's there, it stays until you get there. It stays. It does not go away. No.
It will not.
It will not go away. And I tried to go there in 2019, and I'll get to your question. I'm going around and about.
We're patient.
I was scheduled to go there with a small part of my larger tour group. So the tour was done. Most everyone had gone, and the smaller group had stayed to go with me to Siwa. And during the tour, I got a call from a woman I had been in consultation with about a movie she was filming in Egypt. And I was, kind of consulting about some things about my experience and to help her out. And I got a call during the tour that she was filming the days that I was supposed to be in Siwa.
Oh my goodness. What a coincidence.
I was like, well, shoot. And then she's like, and I was thinking maybe you could be in the movie, not just consult, but actually be in it. So I went from consulting to being in the movie and then having a whole speaking role, which that's a whole story unto itself, which I'm not going to go down that road. The movie's called Luxor. You can find it.
I was just going to ask, share. Yes. Okay.
Luxor, it came out in 2020 and you can get it on Amazon on Prime. And probably other places too. It has beautiful cinematography. It's kind of a love story. Anyway. So I was supposed to go to Siwa, and then this opportunity, please help with the movie. Now be in the movie. I'm like, Siwa's not going anywhere. This is the only opportunity I have to have this kind of an experience, right? To be in this kind of way. So I didn't go to Siwa. And I arranged for my group to be cared for and held, and off they went. And still the pull was there. And still the movie came and went, and the desire to go to Siwa continued. So last year I did the same thing. I had my tour and most everyone left, and then a portion of the group went with me to Siwa. So that pull, that's the piece that I want to pull from that little kind of story. The pull of it, I think that an oracular location on the planet pulls those who have something to hear from it. Not everybody that goes to Delphi or Siwa, the temple of the oracle, are going to have oracular experiences, even those of oracular nature, right? Some of us will be walking down the street and we have an oracular moment, right? Some of us go into deep trance and we have oracular moments. So there's all kinds of ways these kind of experiences come to us. However, there are locations like Delphi and like the Temple of the Oracle that somehow are open to the energetics of that in a deep, like the veils are thinner there, right?
Yeah.
The veils are thinner there. And so if you're ready and you're in a place where there's a message you need to receive, it's going to come. I haven't been to Delphi. That's one of my bucket list things. I don't have the same pull to Delphi as I do to Siwa. Even still, that pull never went away. It's like now I feel like there. So,
hey, everybody, if you are enjoying the show, then you would do me the biggest favor in clicking the subscribe button and engaging with my content so I can continue to deliver these beautiful conversations to you. Thank you so much.
What I find interesting too is that, here's the Mediterranean. Pretend this is a map in front of me. It's Mediterranean, right? And up here is Delphi, and down here is Siwa.
Oh, I can totally feel how there is like that earth undercurrent that connects. Yeah.
It's almost like I'm almost seeing like if there's these 2 points on either side, and I'm actually seeing it going under the earth.
Yes.
Right? From Delphi going down and then coming up through Siwa and then going back down through Delphi. I don't know what that is, but I'm just seeing that now. It's like this energetic circle that goes between the two of them, between earth and sky.
Yeah.
So
yeah, as we are speaking, that's exactly what I got too. Yes.
There's capital T truth and there's little t truth. That's little t. Right? Capital T truth is the truth. I don't know what the truth is. I can only say what it feels like a truth, and that feels like a truth.
And this is what, with this podcast and these places, I really want to transmit. It's not just about there's a lot of stories that we can read, but it's the felt experience and the energies that might be different for people that might be similar. And so the weaving of these together and to really make these sites a lived experience.
You know what also is important, I think, to share is that like when I go back to Siwa, I'm going to have a very different experience than what I had here. And I know that you know a little bit about that experience. And I had a very oracular, deeply visionary experience when I was there. And I'm not going to go down that story whole here, but there's other podcasts where I shared about that story, which is I think where you found out about me and Siwa is from what I shared on the Guy in Myths.
Yes, it was the Guy in Myths, that I co-hosted with Brianna. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So what I know is that when I go back there, it's going to be a different me, a different day, a different constellation of everything. And so my experience is going to be different. I've had experiences in the Great Pyramid that are mind bending and outside of explanation, right? But that's not every time. I've also been there with my group and it was just a room in a giant pile of stones, right? So even for those with great visionary or oracular capabilities, it's going to be different every time. And sometimes it's going to be flat and nothing and just a beautiful place to be. And then sometimes something very profound may come through. So it's about arriving without expectation, arriving with trust, arriving knowing that everything that comes to us in every moment is exactly what we need, right?
Yeah.
When we
That's a big piece, and I feel that we can never stress that enough. So we've touched on the temple, but I also know that the whole oasis, I mean, there's a lot more, right? And I love how you used this picture of the great sea of sand and then arriving to this oasis that is just this like lush greenery. And I also know that there is these salt pools. So I actually do have salt from Siwa here. And there is also I've heard about these meteorites. So to me, and I haven't been there, it feels that there is so much coming together and it's almost like the land is pulling different consciousness or streams of consciousness to be anchored in. How did you experience that?
Well, first, that pulling to be anchored in. So I want to invite us all just to close our eyes for a minute.
Yes.
Okay. Just take a moment and bring into your awareness the color of sand. Start where they are, that golden tan, not dissimilar to my scarf, but maybe a little more goldeny in there. Just bring that color in, the golden glow of the sand. And as that golden glow surrounds you and fills you, you notice the blue, blue, blue of the sky. And the brilliance of the sun shining. The next thing you notice is the silence. In the desert, it is quiet. There's space to hear oneself, to hear your heart in the desert. Breathe into this silence between the words, between the sounds, between the thought, between time. Now, as you have yourself in the space of silence, in the space of the bright sun and the blue sky and the golden sands, begin to cast your vision out into where you are. You're standing on a high point, and as you look forward from this high point, the land sinks, and it sinks down into an impression in the earth filled with green, filled with palm trees, date palm trees, filled with sparkling blue waters. A huge lake, a saltwater lake, where the people have gathered and built their lives over countless, countless breaths. And now as we are there here in this present time, we begin to bring our awareness back in time. We see the sand shifting. We see the dunes rising and falling. And we go back so far in time, we see a moment when this place where Siwa Oasis is, where it was covered with the Mediterranean Ocean. And the sand was the bottom of the ocean. And above the bottom of the ocean swam creatures, large and small. In this prehistoric time, countless lives lived and died, their bones sinking to the floor of the ocean. And as Earth changes, that ocean begins to recede as we move forward in time again. And eventually, the land of Africa's coastline is distinct, and the Mediterranean finds its place and its home. Yet, in this one place where Siwa Oasis is, waters remain. The land is low enough that it still holds the water, the precious water, the water that gives life, the water that makes it possible for a people to find themselves living day by day in and out of the centuries, isolated from all the rest of the world, independent, unique, beautiful people, the Berber people. Time moves forward and Mr. Alexander shows up and others begin to come as they find their way to the oasis by camel over the long desert. Then at some point roads come and more people come and it grows and yet it still stays the same. And the temple itself there on its hill, it goes through its own process of becoming, of being, and of disintegrating. Like all things come into being, grow and decline and fade. All things, including this oracle temple. Yet, even though the stones of the temple are worn and tumbled, I invite you just to feel now the energetics of the temple. You don't even have to know what it looks like. Just bring yourself into the Holy of the Holies, the center point within the sacred temple, the center point within your heart. For the oracle temple is simply a reflection of what's true within you, inside of your heart. That's where the oracle lives. So breathe here. Be here in the heart of the oracle, in the heart of Siwa, in the heart of Egypt, in the heart of Africa, the heart of this planet. Knowing that though your body is not in Siwa right now, your essence, your soul, your spirit is. Just allow the beauty and the mystery of it all to infuse you, inform you, tickle you, offer you something that you didn't have before. Now, knowing that that oracle is always within you, the temple of the oracle in Siwa is there in Siwa. You begin to feel yourself back in your own seat, in your room, wherever you are on planet Earth. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your heart in your chest. Allow a small smile to come to your lips. So you gently open your eyes.
Wow, thank you.
So there's Siwa, right? That's Siwa.
That is Siwa and so much more. Thank you. That was very vivid for me and even very physical. So the shifts of the sands of time, and the earth opening up. There was a lot. Yeah. Wow. It also feels like a lot of, not polarities, that is too extreme, but to me it felt like there's a lot of many different aspects, it's almost like, you have this crystal bowl, and looking out every temple window, there is a different reality, a different path that you could choose. And you choose which one you want to take. That was beautiful. Thank you.
And you know what's true? I think is true anyway. That we're offered every moment a myriad of choices, some conscious and many unconscious, right? Is it time to breathe in or is it time to breathe out? Do I breathe in for a long time or do I hold it for a minute? Do I breathe? These kind of little micro choices that we're not even aware of, but they also are affecting where we're going and what we're doing and everything about us. And then all the conscious choices that we have. What I believe is there's no wrong choice. Once we make the choice, we make the choice. It may not turn out well, but it wasn't a wrong choice. Because if we're saying that we've made a wrong choice, that means that we're completely discounting everything and disempowering who we are in that moment of making the choice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can make a choice, and excuse my language, it can be a really shitty choice. Right? It really can be. And I can make it and I can go, I made this really horrible choice. But it wasn't the wrong choice because what a beautiful opportunity for me to learn about the choice I just made, right? And so I think so often we get caught up in regret about the choices we make, but the choices are what determine our life. And had I gone to Siwa that first time, I wouldn't have had the experiences. If I hadn't made the choice to do the movie, right? I wouldn't have had the experience I had when I went to Siwa last year, which changed my life, which changed my relationship with Allah, with God, with spirit, creator, whatever you want to call it, right? It changed my relationship to myself and my family and the whole world because of making choices and also feeling like, I didn't go to Siwa, dang, will I ever get there? And then it said, yeah, you will. You just have to. And then I went. And so I think this is true of any of the sacred sites on the planet, that if you, whoever you are out there listening, right, all the yous that we are together, if you feel a pull to a site and it feels like it is wanting to tell you something and you're not going to know what it's telling you until you get there, go. Just go. Just go. Don't think of all the excuses why you go. Don't think of, well, maybe I'll go, in 3 years, or, right? Begin the planning, figure it out, do everything, start saving. What do you need to do to go to where your heart is calling you? Because if your heart is calling you somewhere, that means it's somewhere for you to learn something.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would also say that's tickling in that I think is super important It is a huge privilege to travel.
That is true.
It is for a majority of the 8+ billion humans who breathe with us. They don't have that opportunity. They don't have that gift of being able to say, oh, where does my heart pull me? I want to go there, right? Ooh, I'd love to go to Ireland. Cambodia seems really interesting. Italy, I have Italian blood. I need to go to Italy someday.
Yeah.
I really want to go back to Denmark because my family's like, shall I start going, right? Oh, and there's Hawaii,
The
yeah,
list is long.
there's that, and then. But we have to remember that when we're pulled to a sacred site, we're visitors. Even if we have a deeply profound spiritual connection to that site, we're guests, right? And when we enter into the temples of old, we're entering into a temple that was built with a very specific intention of the people of that time. And they knew what they were building those temples for. We think we know what they were building those temples for. We have our opinions. With Egypt, like everybody's an armchair Egyptologist these days. So, you could find as
I
many
love
opinions.
that.
Seriously, it's no joke. And you have to be discerning, especially around Egypt, around any of the sacred sites, right? Much of what we read today is someone's oracular experience about the site, which is not truth. My experience with Siwa is not truth. It's a truth. It's my truth that I experienced and lived. And I'm being a little like this about it because I see so many seekers who have the gift, have the privilege to travel, right? And they go and then they overlay their experience on the whole of what it is. Like that temple then becomes about their stage to enact their spiritual journey. That's okay. It's not a right or wrong thing, not a good or bad thing. But I just ask all of us, including me, where's the mirror? I have to put the mirror to myself, right? It's so important that we enter these sites with humility.
Yeah.
Enter these sites without presupposing that we know. Oh, I know. I know what the site's about because it's the Oracle Temple and it's going to whatever it is for me. Or, I know because I've been in these temples and I bring groups there and I create an experience for them, blah, 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 right? Like, no, it's every time enter with humility, enter with our head bowed, enter with the knowing that, whatever, 700, I can't even say the number. Almost 8 billion of us can't do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Almost billions of us can't do that.
Yeah.
So follow the pull. Do everything you can to get where you go and where you need to go, to be who you are, to spread the light in the world that we need, right? We need it. We need it now more than ever. We need
We
us
do
to
need it. Yeah.
and do so with joy and presence and awareness that we are visitors and guests in these other countries with these other peoples. And
Oh, so much. Yeah.
and go. Please go. Yes.
That was almost a transmission in itself. And so much what you said is really important. And yeah, I want to say true, but now the word true and like truth has like a whole different meaning. Maybe I need to revisit how I'm gonna be using that word in the future.
Okay, so I have a little thing. So Ma'at is truth. Ma'at is the goddess of truth. She is truth. And they've personified her as a goddess, but before and around and beyond all of that, she's a concept. She is truth, the truth, that capital T.
Like capital T.
She is the truth, right? But she's also cosmic order, natural law, balance, harmony, reciprocity, right? Justice. That's Ma'at. So she's the truth. We all are a part of her truth, right? We are a truth within her truth. Right. And so she's like the diamond, and each of us are like a facet in her diamond.
Yeah. I love
Right?
that. That's a beautiful visual. Yeah.
Where we make a whole, right? And so all of humanity has a facet, each of us, right? Every living, breathing being has a facet within that diamond of truth. Every speck of matter, every molecule, every planet, every moon, every sun, everything that exists in the cosmos of order has a facet in the diamond of truth. So,
The diamond of Ma'at.
yes.
You know, I feel we've given so many, or you've given like so many cliffhangers to your own personal story in Siwa. So it's almost like a disservice not to speak about it. So to whatever extent you want to share. And I also know that this was a very pivotal moment for you that fostered the birthing of that beautiful book that was just published, The Gifts of Ma'at. And I can't wait to read it. I just ordered it. So can you speak a little bit into it, what you want to share? Because you said it changed your life, which is pretty dramatic, right? So
It is. And the book came before. The book was published before I went to
oh, it
Siwa.
was? Okay.
That
Thanks
piece was
for
already it's already done. I mean, there is a oracular kind of experience that brought that book, but that was from another. Okay, so I really don't want to tell the whole story here. So I'm just
you don't have to, whatever you feel
but
called to
what I
reveal.
share is I'm like I get nervous about it. It's funny, this story, it's like such a thing. It's I don't know. Anyway, so I'm a visionary person. I mean, just on a very not about spiritual stuff or anything. Like I have technicolor visual ability. Visual, is that a word? A visual ability. It is now. Okay. So like I can close my eyes and I want to see an apple. There's an apple. It's a red apple. It has a little bit of a shine over here, right? Like I can get super visual. And this has served me in many ways. It also has opened the door to the more oracular kind of visionary experiences because I've recognized that if I train me, right, through many, many, many experiences and lots of work, I become an instrument that can be tuned to different frequencies. And the more I train my instrument and learn how to play my instrument, right? Because this is really just a beautiful instrument we've been given, like a flute. You have a flute, and if you play it right, you can make beautiful music. I've been given this instrument, this body, and if I play it right, it can make beautiful music the same way. Well, not quite like flute music, but all the same. Okay. I'm beating around the bush. I'll get to the point. So in Egypt this last time, we were at the end of my tour and I was beginning to go into a trance state and I was recognizing this and I had my group and I was the tour leader. So I had to like hold presence, right? And take care of everybody. And I'm like, this is not my pilgrimage. This is their pilgrimage. My job is to guide them through my own thing. And so holding it. I'm like, the tour's almost done. We're going to Siwa in a few days. And at that point, I wasn't so much their teacher. I was guiding them. I was holding the group, but it was my pilgrimage too at that
Yeah.
point because I had been, right? And I
Mhm.
wanted to go since long, long ago. So I just hold it. And so there's some things that happened at the end of the tour. I'm not going into that. There's things that happened throughout the journey to get to Siwa. Now, the journey to get to Siwa is about a 12-hour bus ride. It's not like just a little hop. There's not an easy way to fly there. You can charter planes if you have like a big group and can pay tons of money to charter a whole airplane. But that's not me and us. We're small groups. And that's, so it's bus we go. And so you drive up, you go along the Mediterranean for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and then you drop down into Siwa. And so through the whole bus ride, I'm getting even more like trancy, and I'm like, what is coming? Like I knew something was coming, right? Like I've learned to play this instrument well enough now. I know that something is happening, and it's something that hasn't happened before. So I just was paying attention and I'm going through my experience and I'm trying to hold myself as well as I could in presence with the group and with my own experience, so that I didn't just like go off into the ethers and, disappear, disintegrate, which is what it felt like I was going to do. So we get to Siwa. We stay in this very beautiful place on the lake, and there's no electricity except for a tiny bit to charge cell phones and to have a
Oh,
little salt
wow.
lamp in your room. Everything was candlelit and just gorgeous. My room, I'm diverging, but anyways, my room went up some steps in the room, and then the wall next to my bed was the wall of the mound that the building was built against, and it
Oh
was.
my goodness.
And so as I slept in this room, I felt like I was detoxing. Anyway, so, beautiful place to stay, and I'm just feeling held, and it's wonderful. We go to the Salt Lakes, which you'd mentioned. There's a place where they're formed because they dig down to harvest the salt. So they make these pools, and then the salt crusts over on top, and then they harvest the salt. And it's this, if you look up, everybody out there, Google Siwa Oasis salt pools, and you'll see what we're talking about when we mention the salt pools. The color is phenomenal.
The
And
colors that you were describing in the activation.
it's the colors of the water is unlike any color I've ever seen in real life. And when you see the colors in pictures, you're like, that's been doctored somehow, right? That's enhanced. It's crazy color. Anyway, so there's this water. We go to salt waters. We have a day out in the desert where we do a safari, and we're just on the dunes. Some of the dunes are like this, and it was very fun. I wanted to do it again and again. And just being in the silence of the desert, all of that. And then we get to the Oracle Temple on the last day, right? And I'm like, why did I even in the planning of the trip, I was thinking, well, maybe we should do the Oracle Temple first, but for whatever reason, I ended up putting it at the very last day. So we go to the Oracle Temple, and when we get to it's sitting up on like a mound, right? So it's kind of low all around, and there's the mound, and the temple's up on top, and you can Google it and see pictures. And so we get there, and we had a Siwi guide who was talking about the history and that kind of stuff. And we start walking up, and all of a sudden I realize that the group isn't with me, and I'm almost to the top, and and so I just left them. They were in good
Oh my
hands.
goodness.
They were with my team. They had the guide with them, and now I'm in the middle of the temple. And so I'm just going to jump back previously for just a quick second. There was a moment on the bus ride, and again, without going through the whole story, some of it doesn't really make sense, but I was feeling dizzy and out of sorts, like this trance thing, right? Trying to keep oneself present in time and space when you're trancing, it's hard. It's really hard. It's really hard.
To put it
So
in a
I'm
nice way, it's hard, yeah.
whoa. So we stop for a moment, not because of me, but because I wanted, in my presence, got to take care of the group place. I was like, we need to get some fruit for the group. Let's get some bananas. Let's stop, right? Get some oranges. Guys, go get some oranges and bananas. So the bus has stopped, and there was a tree next to the bus, and it was kind of dusty, but it was a tree, and it was alive, and it had life force, and it was like, come lean against me here.
Hmm.
So I got off the bus and I leaned against the tree. And in that moment, two things happened. The first thing that happened is a vortex of words. Like it was words. It was like, in that oracular visual kind of way. My eyes are closed. I'm leaning against the tree. I'm trying not to faint. And all of a sudden, these words come vortexing into my crown. And it was so many words I couldn't even, like, even now when I think of it, I get like, oh, that's so many words, like so many words of so many languages in so many ways came. And then it dissipated, sort of like a heavy snowstorm. And then it kind of starts to be light, and then it stops. It was kind of like that. And then it turned into light. Okay. So this vortex of light. And that light, that vortex of light stayed with me through the whole Siwa experience, right? So here I am now, bringing us back to the temple. I'm standing in the temple in this light, and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening to me? Where am I? Why, what, who, how, when, all that. So I just am standing there, and the vortex does this. It goes and it becomes a column of light
Oh, wow.
all around me. Okay. So then I'm in that column of light. At that point, I notice the group starting to come, right? Because again, your leader, got to be present.
Starting the facilitator mode on.
always, always facilitating, whether my own experience with the being. So then, I'm still weighing it, and they're recognizing that I'm having my own experience at that point, and that's fine. And so we finished that experience at Siwa. The light stays with me until we get back to the hotel. I ask a few of the people who I know have the ability to hold space to come hold space for me. I finally reach out and ask for help. Ask for help with people. I've had a hard time asking for help, but when sometimes we just need someone to sit with us, right?
Yes.
So I asked a couple people to come sit with me. I'm like, I've been trancing for 2 weeks now. I need to find out what this is. I can't wait any longer. And so I went in. Right? Whoosh. And I was shown very profound experience. I was given a series of visions of somebody and his life that lived in the past, and places and kind of things that happened during that lifetime. And through that, I would ask, right, my friends, or I'd look it up. I'd like close my eyes for more than a blink. It had to be more than a blink, but well, wait, I'm jumping ahead. I'm jumping timelines. So in this, I'm like I'm experiencing. And after is when I asked about some of these things and got confirmation that what I was seeing was what had happened, right? So I knew that what I was seeing was the truth of what we've recorded in human history. Okay, so then it shifted, and this is the part that I shared on the podcast or on the summit, on the Guidance Summit. There were 2 children that came. And I was in the desert, right? There's that golden sand, but it wasn't like joyful feeling. It was heavy in the vision. And I was carrying something. I was carrying a heavy log or big branch, and it was heavy, right? And my feet were heavy. My body felt heavy, and I had no shoes on. The sand was hot. It was not a comfortable moment. I'm walking, I'm trying to get through the sand. And if you've walked through sand, which most of us have, it's not always easy. And if you have something heavy, it becomes more difficult.
Yeah.
And I want to put this log, this branch down, and I can't. And I get to a body of water, and I feel the water before I see it because the ground starts to shift in temperature, right? And so this vision is very kinesthetic as well as visual and audio. It was kind of a full spectrum experience. And I get to the edge of the water, and I finally am like, my feet are cool. I feel the water over my feet. And there's these children here, these 2 children, and a boy and a girl, maybe 9-ish. And they have eyes. This seems so important for some reason, and it's one of the qualities of them that I always see first when they come into my awareness. Their eyes are the color of green sea glass. Okay, so like I have green hazel eyes, so they can get sort of green, like they can get pretty green in Egypt when I'm in that sun for a while, but this was like translucent, right? Their eyes are like translucent. And they look up at me, and they each take one of my hands, and they let me put this log down, right? They tell me to put this branch down, and I do. And they take my hands, and they give me this vision. So I'm in a vision, and now the children are giving me a vision. So it's like a double vision kind of view, right? So now I'm even deeper.
Multi-layered.
Right. I thought I was deep, and now I'm even deeper. So I went back in time, and now where am I? Well, what they conveyed to me is that as far back as the vision of the man was, is how far forward they are. Right. And so this is about 25 generations forward. This is about 1,500 years forward. Now, even as I say that, sitting here with all of you, 1,500 years seems so far away. Yet here we are talking about Siwa Oasis, right? And we're talking about Egypt, and we have the written histories from 1,500 years ago. It's not that far away, right? 3,000 years ago is not that far away.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it? It was something like time is an illusion. Ultimately, it's a timeline in order for us to make sense of the cosmos. But at the same time, things are happening simultaneously. So the man, the children, us, here,
Yes.
there, right? And so what they said is that all the choices the man made helped us be here. And not just the man. This is, the man
It's
is
a representation. Yeah.
of, yeah. And all the choices that I make, that you make, are what make it possible for the children to be here. And that this time, specifically this time, is the folding time. And what happened in the vision is they showed me the timeline. Here's the man, here's the children, here's us in the middle. It folded where we are, right? So that the man and the children came together into a single point. And then we're at this point, right? So before the timeline was like this in the vision, and then it folds up. Here's that, we're at the top, and then here we are, right? Okay. And then it folded again. And then we became a point of singularity. We became a unity. We became a one. And it was this plea. Was it a plea? Is that the right word? Yeah, it really was. It was a plea from the children of the future, right? Represented by these two, this boy and this girl, 1,500 years from now, saying that every choice we make, here we were talking about choices, there's no right or wrong choice. Every choice is the choice we make. It's what we do with the choices we make. Right? And that's what they're saying. Every choice you make determines the next moment. Every choice you make weaves the tapestry of life. Every choice you make makes it possible for us to have breath. They said, between now and then, a lot is going to happen. And this part this part, we'll see. We get to live out some portion of this, those of us who are alive. And we're seeing some of what's happening on the planet right now. They said there's going to be great disintegration of systems, whether civilization type systems or global weather pattern systems or systems of life. There's going to be a disintegration and there's going to be loss. And what they alluded to isn't that all the loss was going to be like, boom, big loss all at once. Bazillions of people were all gone. Now we are starting back from the primordial soup. Not that kind of loss. But through 15,000 years, we as a humanity are going to recognize that our presence on the planet doesn't need to be so big, right?
Yeah.
That there doesn't need to be 8 billion humans.
Yeah.
And that they alluded to this truth that the more humans there are, the less life force the planet has, because the life force of the planet is X. And that life force spreads around to all life on this planet. And if we're taking a majority of it, it leaves very little for everyone else.
Yes. Yeah.
Everyone else is just as much right to live as we do, right? Whether it's a tree or a gnat that's flying around the tree, or an elephant, or my kitty cat, or you, or me. And so there wasn't even from the children, it was just what was. It wasn't about what was sad. And it wasn't about humans coming in and destroying humans like some humans are doing today. It was the natural order of things, right? As Ma'a moves through time, she begins to right the wrong. She begins to equalize the disequilibrium. And we have a lot of disequilibrium right now, right? They say in the stories, diverging a little bit from my vision, but there was a time in the mythos where the humans had forgotten Ma'at. And Ray is looking down upon his children, and he's so sad that his children have forgotten Ma'at, because Ma'at is the foundation upon which all of us exist. And so he calls in Sekhmet. Hey, Sekhmet. Hey, daughter Sekhmet. She's a lioness. Please go help people remember Ma'at, because one of Sekhmet's jobs in the mythos is as guardian of truth. She's the guard of Ma'at. Go help them. Remember, she gets here and she's looking around and she's like, oh my God, they forgot Ma'at. And instead of being like, oh dear, here, let me help you. She was like, she flew into a rage and she went into a bloodlust, right? And she's slashing and gouging and hurting the people who she was supposed to come help them remember. And so anyway, in that story, they make her a brew to help her calm down. They make it red. She thinks it's blood. She drinks it up. She falls asleep. And she wakes up and she remembers her heart. And helps the people to heal, right?
Yeah.
Today, when we look around, I believe that we've forgotten Ma'at. Governments have forgotten Ma'at. People have forgotten Ma'at. We've become in the United States, I believe, we're very, it's this individualistic kind of society here. The colonizers came to America with this like, it's ours, we can do, and then they colonized the whole country, and we, me, mine, what's for me, right? And now it's time to turn that off, and it's the we. It's no longer the me, it's the we. And that's what the children are saying. Every choice we make, every action we take has to be about the we. And not just the we of like my family or my city, my humanity, but the we of life, right? What am I doing to preserve the web of life?
Yeah.
And if I don't know how to preserve the web of life, simply hold that intention, and then every choice we make begins to align with that. And then when we don't make choices that align with the web of life, then it's about, oh, I made a choice. What do I learn from that? Right. And then there are many choices that we're forced to make in the world today because we live in this world. Like I'm looking around my desk right now. I'm like, okay, I have a Sharpie pen. How many of us have a Sharpie pen? We need Sharpies, right? We got to write. They're super great. They write on everything. And you can get them in all kinds of colors and do fun art. They're super cool. But then they dry up and then you have the shell of a plastic thing that gets thrown into the land. That's not helping those children.
Yeah.
Right? So do I need to buy the next Sharpie pens? I need to think about that. And if I make the choice to do it, why am I doing it?
Yeah.
So that's what the children are asking, bringing it back to the children. They're really asking us to be really aware of everything we do, because everything we do is what determines the future, right? I'm Sufi, right? And I walk with Islam, and I also walk with the ancient Egyptians and Ma'at, and this kind of archetypal truth that is there. And I also, walk with the elementals and the world of nature. And in all of it, I have choices. I keep coming back to that. And so much of people who know me, I always come back to the choice. What is the choice? And just as Creator creates all of existence, I get to have free will to choose this moment, what I'm creating, what I'm doing, what I'm making, what I'm becoming. What are you becoming? What world do you want to live in? Right? That's the question. And then align your choices with that world. And I want to believe that in the heart of everyone, even those whose names I will not name, who I believe are so far off the spectrum of human kindness, but in the very core of them, I believe that they want what's best for the whole. Right? There's just something hurting them or covering that. And if we all begin to live in this place of the light and of choice that aligns with life, then it gives everyone else permission to do that too.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll stop. I'm being a little preachy, but that's what the children brought me in Siwa, right? That's what the children brought me in Siwa, that it's not my life. I've been given this collection of molecules for this amount of time, right? And within that, I get to make choices. And those choices determine far more than just my life, right? My name will be forgotten in the depths of time, but the collective action of all of our choices are going to make it possible or not for those children to have life in the future. Because it's not a given.
It's not a given. No.
And then the last thing I'll say, and then I'll stop, is if you're a parent or a grandparent, or if you want to be a parent, then what I believe is that you should be doing everything possible to preserve 15,000 years from now, because those are your descendants. Those are your family. Family aren't just the people who are breathing today. Family aren't just the people who died and passed into the ancestry, right? The people of the future are our family too. And the trees of the future are our family. And animals of the future are our family. We're all made of the same matter. We all matter. So that's what Siwa did to me, right?
Wow. I don't even know what to say after this. Well, first of all, thank you. I am really, really grateful that I asked and that you did share. And I can really see these eyes, like the color of these eyes, and like looking into these eyes as a mirror of the depth of the cosmos, and like mirroring everything that is, coming together and collapsing. And so much of what you said is, I feel, yes, this cosmic order that is being restored. And also at the same time, coming back to that this happened at this place, like remembering our own oracular nature. So we are shown these choice points and we can use it. And I'm just putting different words to what you said already, but I feel that this is a very, very potent, transmission. And, sometimes, yes, we speak about the place, but what actually happens and the message that is being delivered is so much more profound. And I feel this is really the sacred site medicine of these places and the earth that is coming forward, and like this wake up call and saying, hey, humans, like, do something about it. And so, yes. So I really can't thank you enough for speaking into that. And I just want to normalize a little bit maybe the dramatic aspect to it also, because it can be super scary in a way. But also, to really come back to these choice points that we have, and to come back to that cosmic order where even, like, yes, we humans, but also Earth is just one player in the entire cosmos.
We have a communal body, right? Humanity is a communal body. We have a planetary body, the planet. We have a solar body, right? The solar system is you, right? The planet is you. You're a cell within these bodies, just like there are organisms that live within you, that depend on you, that are a part of you, right? And you are living within and a part of the earth, and the earth is living within the solar system. The solar system is living within and is a part of the galactic body, which is you. And the galactic body is...
And it goes on and on and on.
And then I believe cosmos is but a bubble of many such units within something far grander than we can even imagine. And I don't think it actually gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I think almost as the bigger we get, the smaller we get.
Exactly as this. It's this. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. That was the longest episode that I ever did, but thank you so much. It was no, like it was worth every second of it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. That was wow. And yeah, I bet that there was so much wisdom for everybody, you who are listening and watching. If you're still with us, there's so much wisdom out there. And I'm going to go back and re-listen because I feel that there is a couple of things that you touched on that I want to revisit for myself.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's been such a
Thank
joy to
you.
be with you. And seeing Siwa there behind you as we've been in
Yes.
this podcast the whole time. So now I'll actually point it out. It's been a gift. And so you can see in this image behind that you have the mound there where the old temple was, right? Uh-huh. And you can see how it's up above and then the impression is down lower where all the green is. But just imagine as the water receded over time, that once upon a time, those hills were islands within a big body of water, and then the water sunk lower and lower. And over in the very top of your screen there, you can get a little glimpse of the lake, Siwa Lake. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, I'm inviting everybody to take a deep, deep breath and just let that all sink in because that was a lot. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.